Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our February high school webinar. We apologize that we cannot be here live with you due to technical difficulties, which is the life of everyone during this pandemic and virtual work and schooling. But we are so thrilled you're able to join us. We have a great behind the scenes tour for you today of our eye and tissue department. My name is Amanda Farrell. I'm the Director of Donor Recruitment here at ConnectLife, and we are so grateful to continue to partner with you all in your schools and with your districts. I have a few housekeeping items and announcements before we get started today with our main presentation. I just want to remind everyone that though we are not able to be with you in your schools in person this year, we do have several resources available for you to continue to help to spread awareness on organ, eye, tissue, and blood donation, as well as to continue to keep you up to date on what's going on with ConnectLife. So as a reminder, all of our webinars to date have been recorded and they are available right from a link on our website. We are very excited for our webinar in March. We have representatives from Donate Life New York State, as well as America's Blood Centers, joining us to talk to you about the legislation and advocacy initiatives throughout the state and the country in regard to organ, eye, tissue, and blood donation. This is going to be a really great webinar if you are interested in political science, again, government. So any students who are enrolled in government, it will be a great resource for you. ConnectLife is very active on social media. Please look for us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We actually have a TikTok now. We have several of our engaged blood donors who have made some great videos for us, as well as all of our new advertising commercials are available for you on YouTube. There's a lot of other videos that past school groups and donors have made as well too. So it's a great place that you can find some video content to share. Monthly, we do have an electronic newsletter. If you are not already receiving that, just let me know. You can also subscribe right from our website. Here you'll see lots of stories from blood donors, from donor families, and those who have received the gift of life from organ and tissue donation. So again, a great resource not only on current events, but inspirational stories about the power of donation. We also have other print and electronic information on request, so lots of other educational information. If you all are looking to include things in any student or district newsletters, on your morning announcements, or on your Google Classrooms or portals, we're happy to provide anything that you need in that regard. I'd like to recognize our school partners who, despite the challenges of hybrid learning and virtual learning, have helped to save lives through school blood drives this year. It really is quite an incredible list here of representatives of public, private schools, all throughout Western New York and the Southern Tier. There's many more that are scheduled into the spring. And it really is not too late to start to schedule your events now. There's plenty of time before June. And just to touch on the opportunities for involvement, you know, as much as our school year looks different, you still have an opportunity to save lives through blood donation and to make an impact in your community. We are willing to be as creative as need be to work with you all to bring donation opportunities to your students, your teachers, your parents, in your community. We have donation centers all throughout Western New York. We work with many community groups and fire halls, as well as we'd love to come and set up inside your school or bring the bus to your school. And just a reminder, all schools that run or support at least 2 blood drives do receive a $500 student scholarship. So that's a great you know, boost towards books and to get you ready for hopefully the return to normal fall semester at college. We also have a new opportunity. We are developing a youth council focus group. We really realize that, especially now that folks aren't in school all the time, we need to come up with fun, creative, and new ideas on ways to still inspire this generation of blood donors. So we need your help. We will be putting together 2 one-hour virtual meetings to help us develop a spring blood drive donation program geared towards young adults in high school and college. We want this to be fun, creative. It's a great opportunity for anyone interested in marketing and PR and communications to help us come up with some new creative ways to reach the young adult audience. It's a great way for you to be an ambassador and help us to spread the word. And student ambassadors will also receive credit for service as well as an appreciation gift. So you can always reach out to us. The number is 529 4270, or you can email me at afarrell@connectlife.org. We are looking for student leaders to help us to inspire a generation of donors. So with that, that is all the opportunities for now. We look forward to continuing to work with you. And I'd like to introduce you to Mary Pfeiffer, who's the Director of Eye and Tissue Services in our Eye and Tissue Department. I'll stop sharing my screen and Mary, go
Sure,
right.
great. Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Like Amanda said, my name is Mary Pfeiffer. I'm the Director of Eye and Tissue Services here at ConnectLife. Thank you for logging in and coming on and checking out the recording. We're happy to present this information to you. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself first personally, and then talk a little bit about our department before Amanda shows the videos that we prepared for you. I started my career here quite some time ago as a recovery technician. My education was, I had earned an associate's degree at a local college as a surgical technologist. I was working at a local hospital in the operating room and had heard about this opportunity with the organization to recover tissues for transplant. I was intrigued by that and started what I thought to be a temporary position with the organization, recovering tissues on cadaveric donors. Throughout my tenure here, I have changed roles. I did complete my bachelor's degree in healthcare administration during that time frame, and have had an opportunity to grow with the company. So that's been fantastic. Lots of opportunities to learn different things within the organization, but specifically within the eye and tissue department. In our department, we do, like I said, we recover cadaveric tissues. So people who have passed, they have authorized us to come either on site where they passed, or they come to our location here in Williamsville. We do have a full operating room suite. And we recover the tissues that they've authorized. So we can recover anything from long bones to skin to corneal tissue, different types of eligibility or criteria determine what we're going to recover, and always what people have authorized for us to recover. So that is some information about the tissue. We run a fully functioning eye bank here on site also at ConnectLife. So we recover corneal tissue for transplant. We recover it, we release it, which means that we do a full screen medical social history review to make sure that the tissue is eligible and safe for recipients. We evaluate the tissue to make sure that it will be effective going into someone else and be able to restore the gift of sight. And we process it if need be, and then we distribute it. So we distribute it to local surgeons here in Buffalo, and we also work with surgeons in Syracuse and a couple in the Rochester area. If we don't have a need here locally for corneas, then we will reach out to other eye banks nationally and then internationally to make sure that all the tissue that we recover that's eligible for transplant can be used to restore the gift of sight. So that's a quick overview of the eye and tissue department and what we're doing here at ConnectLife. And I believe that Amanda has some videos to show talking about the other staff and their roles within the department.
My name is John Splicki, Supervisor of Eye Services here at ConnectLife in the Eye and Tissue Department. My education background is I have a bachelor's degree in biomedical sciences from UB. Prior to working at ConnectLife, I had a lot of experience in the medical field. I actually worked in a pharmacy department in a hospital as well as an emergency department for about 10 years before I started here, and I've been at ConnectLife now for about 5 years. So here in the eye and tissue department, the whole process begins in the donor referral center. After somebody passes away in New York State, we get a phone call from the hospital a referral. And from there, we do a medical evaluation, a screening process to see whether or not donors will be suitable for transplant. So from there, once we determine if there's any transplant opportunities, so our recovery team will go out either to a area hospital, or we actually have an operating room here on site where they can do the perform the recovery. So my role here in Connect Life begins, what they'll do is they bring the corneas back to me, and we begin our evaluation review process. So the whole process starts here with our specular lamp. What we use this for is we measure the cell density of the cornea itself. Your cornea is made of 5 layers, and the layer closest to the back of your eye is called the endothelium, and that's the most important part of your cornea. When that starts to dysfunction, you lose the ability to see and focus on objects in front of you, and that's when you would actually need a cornea transplant. So after we determine whether or not there's enough cells that the cornea can actually function properly, we will then do a slit lamp evaluation of the cornea. During this process, we're looking for any sort of signs of surgery, scarring, any sort of debris, infiltrates, which are essentially just infections of the eye. You might actually be familiar with this. They use this at optometry offices. That's how they evaluate whether or not you can see, and we do the same with our corneas. After we begin the medical review. So every donor, their next of kin, will complete a questionnaire with us. It's about approximately 50 questions, and they'll have to answer everything from their social history to their medical history. So we will review that questionnaire. We also will review the donor's medical history, the donor's chart. Any medical history from the time they're born to the time they pass away, we review to make sure that the cornea is suitable for transplant. We also test all of our donors' blood just to make sure that there's no communicable diseases that can be transmitted between donor and recipient. After we determine whether or not a cornea is transplantable, then we will start reaching out to our local surgeons to see if there's any need for transplant locally. From there, we'll expand out regionally to see if any doctors across the Northeast have any need for cornea tissue. Then we'll go across the country and international. The whole concept being any cornea that is transplantable any cornea that is transplantable, we will try to find a home for. We don't discard any transplantable tissue. We also have a robust research program here at Connect Life, specifically when it comes to ocular research. We work with a lot of local doctors who are trying to come up with new ways of helping improve people's vision. So we work out with some Rochester area researchers and Buffalo area researchers as well.
Can you speak a little bit to kind of the
uses?
Some of the uses, as well as I think, volume on a monthly or annual basis?
So as far as cornea processing is concerned, there's actually multiple uses for a cornea once it's recovered. We can transplant the whole cornea itself, which is called the full thickness surgery. We can also do what's called the DSEC procedure, which is essentially, if this was your cornea, we can actually take a blade and remove the top part of the cornea and just transplant that bottom endothelium layer. That's the most important layer. Another procedure we can do is actually called the DMEC, where we'll flip the cornea over and we can peel off the endothelium using forceps. It's your cornea is about as thick as a contact lens. So, and to remove the endothelium is just a single layer of cells. So it's a pretty technical, demanding procedure. And we can do all these things in-house for our surgeons as they request it. And then as far as how many corneas we recover, yearly we do almost 1,000 cornea recoveries between our location and our Syracuse location. And we transplant about I think our transplant rate is about 80% now, which is pretty good. It's right where you expect. Anytime there's any sort of medical issues, we always discard the corneas just to make sure that we don't harm the recipient.
Hi, my name is Ashley Betts. I am the birth tissue coordinator here at Connect Life. I transitioned into this role recently, and prior to that, I was the birth tissue recovery technician for Connect Life for about 4 years. So what I'm responsible for right now is the clinical side of the birth tissue program, as well as growth and development activities related to our birth tissue donation program. So my background is I have a master's in science and community and school health. I spent a lot of time on clinical applications and some patient care, and I also spent a lot of time learning about community health education, program implementation, and aspects such as that. I'm also a trained birth doula, and what that is, it's a support system for the mom and family during childbirth and labor. So I have a pretty good understanding and background of the whole childbirthing process and just being a support person for people in labor as well. So some of the things I do here at ConnectLife, as I mentioned, our program, we are heavily involved in the community. So we coordinate with a lot of OB offices to receive our referrals. So there's 2 ways that people can refer themselves. We can work with the OB offices, and what they'll do is they'll speak with their patients. Typically, there's a couple of points of contact in each office, and they'll bring up our program to their patients who are having scheduled C-sections. So we drop off information frequently to these offices, as well as we're in pretty consistent contact with them. And then we also coordinate with the hospitals. So we'll coordinate on the day of surgery. We will just work with the nurses there and the OBs. We actually go into the surgeries, the C-sections, to collect the birth tissue donation. So part of my training here at ConnectLife is to learn about aseptic technique, because I will be actually scrubbing in to obtain the tissue for donation.
Can you talk about some of the things that birth tissue can be used for and the ways it can help people?
So currently, once we acquire the birth tissue, while we're out on a birth tissue donation case, we bring it back to our office and we will pack it up and ship it out to one of a few processors that we work with. And currently, they are making a couple of different products out of the amnion tissue. The amnion is actually the outer layer of the placenta. And so they're able to make transplantable grafts out of that tissue. Typically, they're about 1 inch by 1 inch squares. They can be made in other sizes, and they're actually frozen. And then places like ConnectLife can order the amnion tissue for surgeons locally. We actually do order that product. There's also other products such as Procara, and that's actually another product that ConnectLife orders that's made out of amnion tissue. It's actually a contact lens that goes over the eye. It just aids in healing and reducing inflammation and it can decrease pain, and it just allows for an easier healing process.
Hi, my name is Matthew McGillicuddy, and I'm the tissue clinical trainer here at ConnectLife. I've been with the organization for 10 years. I started here right out of college and graduated from the University of Buffalo with a degree in pharmacology and toxicology. When I started with the organization, I started as a recovery technician. My job was to procure or recover, package, label, and ship tissue. Then I worked my way through the organization and became a team leader. As a team leader, I'm responsible for reviewing the patient's medical histories to make sure that they're suitable for donation. And also, at the end of the recovery, I'm responsible for making sure that the tissue goes to where it needs to go so that it can be transplanted. And continuing my career path through ConnectLife, I find myself as the tissue technical or clinical trainer, and that's where I am today. How the donation process begins within our organization is our call center, or our donor referral center. Here, our hospitals call into our facility and they provide us with the patient's information and any kind of demographic information. So that way we can begin our medical history screening to make sure that they're suitable for donation. If the patient is suitable for donation, we'll reach out to the family and see if they are interested to move forward with the donation process. If the family is interested, we'll complete a questionnaire, a medical social questionnaire, and also an authorization for donation, stating that they're donating on behalf of the deceased. In this role, we have our donor screening coordinators who take the hospital initial referrals. Then we also have our family specialists who are responsible for speaking to the families through the donation process. And then we have our auditor, who goes back and reviews our paperwork after the questionnaire and authorization has been complete. All right. So the next part of our donation process, after the patient has been consented, is packing for our case. What you see here is our supply room. This is where we house all of our instruments, packs, shipping containers, and coolers. Our inventory supply coordinator is responsible for making sure our shelves are fully stocked, all of our equipment and supply is in date and in proper rotation. What we'll do is we'll pack up all of the supplies that we'll need on our case, and we'll head to one or two places. We have our recovery room, which we'll see shortly, or a hospital recovery room, or OR, that we'll travel to. All right. Okay. So now we are in our prep room. On the other side of that door right there is our recovery room. We bring our patients into here to be evaluated in our prep room. We'll complete what's called a physical assessment. We'll review the donors from head to toe to still make sure that they're going to be suitable for donation. When we're doing our physical assessment, and then which eventually lead to our recovery, our team generally consists of 3 technicians, 1 being a team leader, and 2 being recovery technicians. The recovery, 1 technician will be doing the packaging and labeling of the tissue, and the other 2 technicians will actually perform the recovery. The types of tissues we recover are skin, our bones, so our bones are legs, arm, tendons, spaphnus and formaldehyde, which are in our legs. We take heart, the valves, the aortic valve, the pulmonary valve, the abdominal aorta, and we'll also recover nerves for your arms and legs as well. A recovery takes anywhere between 2 to 6 hours, depending on the tissues that we are recovering. Now, the final step of the donation process is getting the tissues set up for shipment. What we'll do is we'll pack the tissue up with ice. We'll call a courier, and it'll be on its way. From there, it'll be sent out to a tissue processor, where the tissue processor will evaluate the tissue for its uses, as well as reviewing the donor's medical history before the transplant.
And about how long from the time tissue, like after you recover tissue, how long till it has to be used, or is it typically transplanted?
Tissue can be transplanted within almost a month to up to 5 to 10 years. Tissue can be cryopreserved depending on the tissue type. So your bone, tendon can be cryopreserved for up to 5 to 10 years.
My name is John Splicki, Supervisor of Eye Services here at ConnectLife in the Eye and Tissue Department.
Okay, great. So, Mary, I'm hoping that you can, I know John touched a little bit on the research aspect as it relates to ocular tissue, but there's a lot more research that the Eye and Tissue Department's involved in. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, definitely. Like John said, we do recover ocular tissue for research, which could be like the retina, the sclera, or the cornea if it's not transplantable. There's also the vitreous that's enclosed within the eye. All of those tissues can be recovered for research, if they're not suitable for transplant. But for our tissue donation, we do work with NDRI, which is the National Disease Research Interchange. They're located in Pennsylvania, and they work with thousands of researchers nationally and internationally, and we do a lot of recovering for them. So they will send us specific protocols, and then if those protocols fit our donor and our donor has authorized recovery for research tissues, then that's when we go ahead and do those recoveries. We can recover very simple things like we can recover maybe some I'm trying to think of an example. so sclera, for example, ocular, since we were talking about that, they do a lot of testing for red eyes, irritation, stuff like it could be something small like that to something that could be life-saving down the road, such as we can recover brains for autism or Alzheimer's research protocols and they're trying to find ways to see where do these diseases come from, how do they start in the brain, is there a way to prevent them, is there medication that can aid in or slow down their progress. So there's just so many things that we're involved in. We work with local researchers here at Roswell Park. We work with some researchers at UB, some researchers at Syracuse University. So although transplant tissue is very important to help enhance and save lives, research is very important because those researcher tissues that we're recovering and sharing are really growing medically clinical diagnosis and opportunities for growth within the medical community. So I think that in regard to research, we do concentrate on transplant, and transplant always takes precedence, but research is always also very important to us at ConnectLife because it does do so much to advance opportunities in the future.
Wonderful. And in regard to recovery for transplantation, about how many lives could one tissue donor save? And on average, how many people do you see are impacted by one person who says yes to tissue donation, or one family that says yes to tissue donation?
One donor, surprisingly, Amanda, for people who've never heard this before, it's very shocking to know that one tissue donor can affect up to 75 different people. And that's because depending on what's recovered, obviously if there's 2 corneas recovered, that's going to affect 2 people. But skin recovery, it can those skin the processed skin can go to numerous different people. It can go locally first, it can go nationally. So there really is a huge impact, and a lot of people can be affected just by one person authorizing ion tissue donation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary. So I think, if you take away anything from this, whether it be your opportunities to get involved in blood drives and blood donation with your school, or your ability to get involved by signing up to become an organ or tissue donor, it just takes one person to save many, many lives here in Western New York. So thank you all for your attention today, for your participation. We hope that you learn lots from this webinar, and we can't wait to see you again next month. Thanks so much, everyone.